Welcome to the course Facing Human Wrongs, Navigating Paradoxes and Complexities of Social and Global Change. I'm Vanessa Andreotti. I'm a professor in the Department of Higher Educational Studies in the Faculty of Education.
My name is Will Pally. I'm an associate professor of teaching in the Faculty of Land and Food Systems. We start by acknowledging that we work at the University of British Columbia, which is located on the unceded ancestral territory of the Musqueam people, who are speakers of the Halkomelem language. Some people have brought attention to the fact that land acknowledgements have become tokenistic exercises that do not shape the accountabilities that follow from these acknowledgements. In fact, these accountabilities have informed our decision to offer this course in the first place. And they also shape our invitation to students to sit with questions of violence and unsustainability and to seriously consider their role in reproducing and potentially interrupting harmful patterns.
I would also like to add a land acknowledgement that comes from the Guarani indigenous people in Brazil, who I'm related to on my mother's side. It is a longer acknowledgement that consists of 4 parts. In the first part, we acknowledge the land as a living entity who we are part of, not a property or a resource. The second acknowledgement is about our ancestors. The ancestors are those who have come before and also those who will come after us, both human and non-human. This is about our responsibility to understand that we are part of a continuum and that we need to learn from the mistakes of the past so that the generations to come only make different mistakes in their future. The third acknowledgement is about those who make it possible for us to be here. This includes our families, those who make it possible for us to have food on our tables, those working at the front line of the pandemic to keep us safe, but also those who pay the highest price for our comforts, including the land and the communities where the minerals for our computers have been mined, for example. This is very important for this course. The fourth and last acknowledgement is that we are all parentes, which means that we are all relatives who are part of a very large family, not only of human beings, but non-humans as well. So as a family member, it is an honor for me and Will to be the conveners of this course. In this video, we will talk a little bit about the rationale of the course and the course schedule and format. We will explain the components of the introductory unit and then give you an overview of what you should expect in terms of workload for the following 5 units.
For most of you, this will be a very different course. This is because we're experimenting with a very different approach to education, which is outlined in the scholarly reading for this introductory learning bundle. In regular courses, education is often about the transmission or production of knowledge, or the development of competencies and skills such as problem solving. This common approach is usually about describing a problem and proposing a solution. This is important and effective in some areas. However, in other areas, this approach is no longer working. In our information age, there are too many descriptions and prescriptions of problems and solutions available. We're overwhelmed with information, and we are encouraged and enabled by social media, for example, to choose the bits of information that are convenient to us, that make us feel good, look good, and give us a sense of hope and of moving forward.
We are also realizing more and more how wicked our global challenges are. They are extremely difficult or even impossible to solve. They are hyper-complex, they are multi-layered, they are interlocked. So the solution for one issue usually creates problems in other places. They involve many unknowns. They have longer and uncertain timescales. Our biggest problem then is that our formal education and our socialization in modern societies do not adequately prepare us to engage with wicked global challenges. We generally try to solve these problems with the same ways of thinking that created the problems in the first place. 3 important things happen when we try to address these challenges with the tools that we have inherited. We tend to imagine change, sustainability, and justice in ethnocentric ways. We privilege a single story of progress and erase the other possibilities without even realizing we are doing it. The second thing is that we tend to choose simplistic feel-good solutions that give us hope and make us feel like we're getting somewhere so that we can celebrate our successes while ignoring our failures because we are conditioned to see failure as shameful. And 3, we tend to engage with systemically marginalized communities in ways that are tokenistic, paternalistic, and extractive, assuming that they already buy or should buy into our single story, because we cannot even fathom ways of thinking or relating outside of what we have been conditioned to imagine. We need to unlearn these patterns, but we cannot simply think our way out of them because we are unconsciously wired to want these things and to relate in these ways. This is similar to substance addiction and similarly difficult to change.
Mm-hmm. What Vanessa is talking about is that we often fall into and repeat the same cycle. When we have to engage with wicked global challenges, our enthusiasm is often guided by the hope that we can solve things and even be the heroic protagonists of that process. When we start to face the difficulties, the complexities, the paradoxes, the uncertainties, the tensions, the conflicts, the ambiguities, the multiple perspectives, and when we start to see that we're also part of the problem, we feel uncomfortable and we can't stand it for very long. We settle for something that rescues us from that discomfort. Anything that gives us a sense of hope, meaning, and purpose, while ignoring what we're not able to sit with. For example, imagine you go to a fancy restaurant and you begin to recognize the wicked nature of the global challenges involved in that scene. You look at the menu and you can imagine thousands of hectares of monocultures that supply our fruits and vegetables, and the impact on regional biodiversity, the intense energy consumption that makes possible the machinery, chemical usage, biological and technological control, the vast and energy-intensive distribution networks, cold storage, anywhere, anytime, negotiations for, and rarely with, the land. Whose land is being managed and made productive? What sort of governance exists and has existed since the long 14th century? The overfishing of our oceans and waterways and the deforestation of the Amazon for meat and soil. You interact with the servers, and you're reminded of the potential for exploitative labor practices within food services and all along the food chain from farm to table. You look around the restaurant and you think about the other customers. Who's this restaurant for? Who feels welcome here? Who's excluded? You consider the location of the restaurant, and you might sense the harmful outcomes associated with gentrification. And if you're in so-called Vancouver, you might consider the ongoing implications of colonialism and the injustices of living in the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. In our modern society, the only way to fully enjoy the meal in that context is to forget these facts so that we can continue to invest in the enjoyment and expansion of our consumer choices and lifestyles. So we always go back to the cycle of enthusiasm, discomfort, and rescue. So there's more to the story about how we forget and move on from the vast harms and violences that prop up modernity, because the process of recognizing and considering the complexities and injustices isn't just an intellectual activity of understanding the nodes in the system and seeing their interactions and their dependence, which is necessary. We also have to recognize that different human and other than human beings in the system exist. As social animals, we have a deep capacity to resonate with the stories of others. We're empathetic. We can get drawn into stories emotionally, and that is labor. Often invisibilized or denied labor, and certainly undervalued. Like all labor, emotional labor can be many things: tiring, tedious, grinding, suffocating. And it can be engaged with, it can be worked with, tolerated, boring, joyous, fulfilling, and worth it. But mostly it's present, and it happens at a cost. Just like our body's capacity to increase physical fitness slowly over time and with continuous effort, so too can we develop emotional fitness or affective stamina. And just like the physical body, we can be unprepared for the amount of lift involved in some events. When we don't cultivate our capacity to emotionally sit with the trouble, we can create habits of internal persuasion, which are also learned and taught and shared, that look like denial, disavowals, denigrations. There's an inflection moment of discomfort, and that again drives that cycle.
This happens because we're not only overwhelmed with information, but most importantly, we're overwhelmed with unprocessed emotions about what's going on. If we're feeling something that we don't want to feel, we're trained to try to run away from it. But if we do that, those emotions run after us, and then we spend a lot of time and energy in a game of hide and seek. In this course, you will learn strategies that can help you hold space and sit differently with your thoughts and emotions in ways that can help you process them and stop the game of hide and seek. You will learn to work differently with your affective states by activating a sense of curiosity about where your thoughts and emotions are coming from and where they're going. You will learn to ride different waves without drowning. This will give you deeper insights about what's going on within and around yourself. And if you apply it more widely, it can help you strengthen or repair your relationships. But this work is hard and requires hard work, especially in the beginning. But we're here to offer you tools and some support to develop the stamina and resiliency to stay with the trouble and the storm and to create healthier and more generative compass for moving together with four important dispositions. These four important dispositions are sobriety, maturity, discernment, and accountability. What we mean by sobriety is related to not acting from compulsions. Maturity is about not self infantilizing. Discernment is about holding space for multiple conflicting layers of reality and of yourself. And accountability is about doing what's needed rather than what's comfortable. We call these four dispositions SMDA: sobriety, maturity, discernment, and accountability. We also talk about a tightrope that we need to learn to walk. And this tightrope is between our desire for hope, for desperate hope, and the fear of hopelessness and despair. And we need to walk this tightrope with honesty, humility, humor, and hyper self reflexivity. And as we learn to do that, we also learn to build relationships based on trust, respect, reciprocity, consent, and accountability. And for that, we need to learn and unlearn in three layers. The first layer is the intellectual layer, then there is the affective layer, and the relational layer. And this course was designed to help you address all these layers.
This course lasts 6 weeks, from the beginning of July to the middle of August. The first week is an introductory unit where you'll test the course to see if it's a good fit for you right now. Because the pedagogy of the course tries to build your stamina to work through what is uncomfortable, it will necessarily push you to consider things that may be emotionally difficult and that cause discomfort. You'll need to decide if this is what you need right now. This intro unit is a somewhat shortened version of the other units. The tasks are organized in a learning and unlearning bundle that consists of this video, an exercise, an academic text, a documentary, a walk, and a questionnaire that will ask you whether this course is for you or not. The first unit will give you a taste of the level of difficulty and discomfort of the course. It will also give you an idea of what you will need to learn or unlearn from the course. The other units will also be organized in a similar way. The learning and unlearning bundles will have an introduction, a pre-recorded lecture, an exercise, a few academic texts, a documentary, a forest walk, a short assignment, and a face-to-face through Zoom debriefing tutorial. The assignments for units 2 to 6 are worth 20% of your grade each. 5 assignments in total for 100%. Since this is a 6-week summer intensive course, students will be expected to dedicate from 7 to 8 hours a week to the learning. The syllabus for the course will be available on May 31st on the course website, blogs.ubc.ca/facinghumanwrongs, and will contain more detailed information about the other weekly learning bundles and course assignments. We encourage you to keep a personal and private unlearning journal where you can make notes about your experiences in this course.
So we thank you for your attention and interest in this course, and we look forward to collectively learning how to dig deeper and relate wider together.
Thank you.